The turn is a queen of spades. I believe that's a great card for my range. SPR is almost 1-to-1, so this spot is really important. I have a king high flush draw, and I have many value hands in my range. It's time to say those magical words.
All in.
I'm all in. What's up everybody? We're back to Seminole Coconut Creek, place where we got smoked yesterday. Played bad at some spots, ran bad on most of it, but the field seemed to be great. A lot of loose aggro players in the tables I played. If the players you follow don't have sessions like that, there's a relevant chance they're just hiding it from you, because poker is a game that luck plays a big role in the short term, so we all gonna run bad at some sessions, and also we are not robots, so most likely we all gonna play bad at some spots. But I learned from it, and we're here to try again. Welcome to the Poker Profit channel, the first poker vlog created to help you become a better poker player. I buy in for 500 in the 2-5 table. First hand of this episode, I get this beautiful pocket aces. I'm in the under the gun +2, button straddles to 10, big blind calls. Button seemed to be a pretty aggressive dude. He was raising a lot and I was in an early position, so I decided just to call and trap someone who decides to raise in position against me. So I call the $10, then the button does what we wanted him to do. He raises to 50, big blind calls, great spot for me here. I'm definitely gonna raise. I think if I raise something like 150, it's gonna be too small and I might represent a lot of strength. So I decided to raise a little bigger than that. I make it 180. It's back to the button, who thinks for a long time. But unfortunately decides to fold. Big blind folds as well, and we win the first spot. The exact next hand, I get king queen offsuit from the under the gun. I raise to 20, only the small blind calls. We're heads up to a flop that comes king, queen, jack, rainbow. I make top 2 pair. He checks to me. I'm definitely gonna bet here. I bet 25. He calls. The turn is a pretty bad one. Now any 10 makes a straight. He checks to me again, and I decide to check back. River is a blank. He checks again. I could decide to bet for value here, but I check back. He shows a 9, I show the king queen, and it's good. An orbit later, I get this 9-7 from the big blind. Button straddle to 10. I complete. Cutoff calls. Button checks. 3 players see the flop. The flop comes 7-9-5, all clubs. I have top 2 pair. I decide to lead out. $15. Only the cutoff calls. Turn is an ace of clubs. If he has any clubs, he is beating me. I check, and then he bets $50. That's a big bet. Wouldn't make sense for him to do that with a low club, like a 6 of clubs, 8 of clubs, 10 of clubs. So he's representing a big hand here. If I was in position, I could decide to call here, but out of position, I'm just not gonna force a hero call on the turn and river, so I fold. Next hand I got pocket kings from the cutoff. I raise to 15, and unfortunately everybody folds. Next hand I'm in the button with 5-4 suited. Hijack raises to 20. I decide to 3-bet to 60 here. I'm not a big fan of just calling in position with this hand in a heads up pot, because I know that usually I'm gonna miss the board and this hand doesn't develop so well post flop.
600 this.
He calls. The flop comes a very interesting one. I make bottom 2 pair, but this board doesn't hit my range so often. While it does hit his range quite a few times. He could have 7-8, 9-8 suited, 10-8 suited, 6-7 suited that he's not gonna have so often, but he could decide to represent against me here. So when he checks to me, I'm gonna bet here, and he might decide to check raise representing those hands, because I have many ace king, ace queen, ace jack on my range that wouldn't hit this flop and would fold for a check raise. I bet $80, and unfortunately he folds. Next hand I'm in the under the gun +1 with king queen suited. I raise to 15. I wanna play this hand post flop, and I wanna let the hands that I dominate to go in the hand, like king jack, king 10, queen jack, etc. so that's why I raise a little bit smaller than usual. Only the cutoff calls, and we see a flop of 10, 7, 3 with 2 diamonds. I have 2 overs and a king high flush draw, which is a ton of equity here, and I can totally be representing aces, kings, queens and jacks. So I see bet to 20, cutoff calls. We missed the turn, but we can still wrap all the hands I just mentioned, so I'm definitely gonna keep betting here. The question is how much. I decide to bet $75, pretty much the size of the pot. He thinks for a while, but decides to fold, winning around 220 in little more than an hour of game. Next hand I'm in the cutoff with ace-9 suited, it folds to me, I raise to 15, button and big blind call, so 3 players see the flop. The flop comes 9-7 deuce with 2 hearts, I make top pair, top kicker.
I don't know why I thought I wasn't expecting.
And then the button acts out of turn here, betting 20 before everybody. His bet remains 20, big blind folds, and I'm really not sure if he did that on purpose or not. But this bet is at minimum careless by his part. I don't think if he had a great hand, he wouldn't be paying attention. So I think I'm beating him most of the times here. Effective stack is 500 and he's in position against me, so I'm gonna decide to raise here. But I don't wanna make it too small so he can call profitably with all the flush draws or open-ended. Ace-9 is a great game in the flop, but it's gonna lose strength in most of the turns, besides an ace, a 9 or a deuce. So I decide to raise 75 and he folds. Next hand I get ace-king offsuit from the under the gun +1, under the gun limps. I raise 25, +2 and big blind call, until the under the gun re-raises to 125.
125.
It was one of his first hands in this table. I had no information about him. Limp raising is usually very strong, but still I have ace-king offsuit in position against him. Ace-king is way better than the range from the under the gun +2 and big blind, and there is a chance some of them is gonna call.
Back to the original razor. What's he gonna do?
Under the gun is talking a lot. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I'm gonna call 100 more in position here. Big blind calls as well, and the flop comes king, jack, deuce with 2 clubs. Great flop for me. I'm still losing for aces, jacks, and the last combinations of kings, but most of the times I will be winning here. They check to me. Now I'm really confident I have the best hand, so I'm gonna bet for value here.
200.
I bet 200, half of the pot. They both fold and I take the pot.
I don't like that black.
Next hand I have king 10 suited from the small blind. Under the gun +1 raises to 15. I call. Big blind calls as well. So 3 players see the flop. The flop comes queen, jack, 4, rainbow with 1 queen of clubs. I check. Big blind checks as well, until the button raises to 30. I have open-ended here. The king might be good as well. My range calling from the small blind can hit this board pretty often. His range can hit it as well, but I think here is a good spot to check raise. So that's what I do. I raise to 100. Effective stacks are deep. Under the gun +1 calls. We completely miss the turn, but I'm gonna keep betting here. I bet 210, trying to put a lot of pressure on him, and finally he decides to fold. Winning 655 for now. Next hand I'm in the under the gun +1 with king queen offsuit, button straddles to 10, under the gun on my right limps. I raise to 50. This guy in my right was talking a lot. We spoke a lot at the table.
I like burning money. I like burning money. I like big cock. I'm gonna get, you ain't rooting for me right now. Not the wild guess.
I promise I'm not gonna be mad if you stack me.
He was a great guy. He was playing pretty loose. He gave me a lot of tips about taxes and how to open up a business account in the US. We're playing heads up. The flop comes jack 8-6. I missed the flop. He seemed pretty careless about his money. So when he checks, I decide to check back.
Check.
Turn comes the 3 of clubs. He bets 50 and I just fold. Next hand I have king 8 on the cutoff. The same player I just mentioned. Raises to 20. And here most of the times I'm just gonna fold. But against his range, and also because we are playing so deep, I decided to play this hand in position against him. Big blind calls as well, so 3 players see the flop. The flop is a good one, 9, deuce, 10 with 2 clubs. They check to me and I check back. I miss the turn. Now there are 2 flush draws in the board. Big blind bets 30, clear call for me here. On the river, I hit a pair of 8s, and now he bets 65. I gotta call 65 for a pot that has 187. I need to be right only 25% of the times here, so my call is profitable. He bet 30 in the turn and 65 in the river. That seems like a lot of value to me. I think the best play here would be a fold, but I might be result oriented here because I already know the result of this hand. So I call, he shows ace 10 and it's good. Next hand I get ace king offsuit from the big blind. Under the gun raises to 15. Middle position, button and small blind call. Great spot and great hand for me to squeeze here. I raise to 105. Middle position calls. Loose play in my right on the small blind calls as well. So 3 players see the flop.
Can I see how much you play, please?
The flop comes 7, deuce, 8 with 2 spades. I have the king of spades. There's a relevant chance this flop didn't hit none of us, and my range is really strong, squeezing out of the big blind. Small blind checks to me, and I'm gonna keep betting here. I bet 140, around 40% of the pot. Middle position calls, small blind folds. The turn is a queen of spades. I believe that's a great card for my range, cause I can have hit my flush. I could also have ace queen here. SPR is almost 1-1, so this spot is really important. I have a king high flush draw, and I have many value hands in my range. I don't think he can call me with anything besides a flush here. I wasn't playing too out of line to justify him to call me too wide here. It's time to say those magical words.
All in.
19.
He folds pretty fast and we scoop a great pot. Next hand I get pocket kings on the low jack. It folds to me and I raise to 20. Hijack calls, big blind calls, 3 players see the flop. The flop is a great one. Queen 5-3 rainbow. I see bet 35, only hijack calls. Turn is a pretty safe one. A 7 of diamonds. No reason for me to stop betting here. I bet 75 and then he goes all in.
Oh my god, man. It looks like you want me to fold.
I really don't.
Stop talking, bro. I don't. Man, I have an episode. The woman saying, "I promise, I have an." And then I look at her. Either she's a liar, or either you're a liar, or I'm losing this hand. You know. So,
People are lying.
I completely agree with that.
there is a difference. Oh my! She said that too. You know. She said I show you, and she shows like nothing. Oh my god, man. I have kings, bro.
And when I say that, I just feel like he got nervous about it. And I can't stress you guys enough on how important it is for you to be able to get live tells properly at the poker table. People just give away so much free information that I see so much people not caring enough about it and really leaving a lot of money in the table by not paying close attention for live poker tells. That's why an advice I give you is if you go all in, just stand still, keep your mouth shut and don't say nothing. Because whatever you say can and it will be used against you if you're playing against someone that knows how to use live poker tells properly. Your eyes can tell a lot about you, not only in poker, but simply by talking to someone, you can feel if they're confident or not at what they're saying, if they are afraid, etc. And I felt like he was afraid.
Oh my god. Oh my, how much is that, bro? How much is that? Don't tell me you have 6-4 out of nowhere.
I gotta call 380 for a $672 pot. I'm losing mostly to sets here, especially set of 5s, 7s and 3s, cause queens I think he would 3-bet me pre-flop. He could be shoving for value with ace queen, king queen and queen jack here as well. So after reasoning all the things I just told you, I call. He shows queen jack.
I didn't win yet, actually.
The river is a 4.
Yes, now I won. See guys, I learned with my mistake with that woman.
Winning $1,532. Next hand I get pocket aces.
Against someone like in the next 3 hours.
3 hours.
One limper before me. I raised to 25. I got 3 callers. 4 players see the flop. The flop is pretty good. Queen 9-4 with 2 spades. I have the ace of spades. It checks to me. I see bet $60. Cut off calls. Then the button goes all in for 245. There's no way I'm gonna fold aces for this all in. Player in my left has 385 total. I decide just to call. Then cut off goes all in for 385. I call.
I got aces, guys. Like, well, is it a good call against US actually?
You have aces?
Yeah. Spades.
Turn is a 7,
Turn off these, please.
river is a deuce, and I lose the hand. Winning $1,100 now. Next hand I'm in the hijack with king 8 suited. I see the cutoff is about to fold his hand and I raise to 20. Those type of situations happen pretty often in live poker. Only the big blind call. He checks in the dark. The flop comes king 7-3. I decide to check back with king 8 of spades here. Turn is a 6. He checks again and now I'm gonna bet. I bet 25. Then he raises to 60. I'm gonna call here. River is another 3. It's a good card for me because now I'm beating hands like 6-7 that he has in his range. And he bets 150. He bet the size of the pot here. He's rapping he has a great hand here. My king 8 here is pretty much a bluff catcher. I'm losing mostly to 7s, 6s and 4-5 here. There are no king 3 suited left in the deck because I have the king of spades and the board has the king of clubs, 3 of diamonds and 3 of hearts. So here I believe is a really close spot. What would you guys do here? Would you guys call or would you guys fold? Let me know in the comment section before you see the results of the hand, please. I decide to call and then he shows a set of 7s in the flop, making a full house in the river and winning the hand. Next hand I get pocket kings on the big blind, +1 raises to 20, middle position, low jack and small blind call, great spot for me. I raise to $90, I choose a smaller sizing, high jack and small blind call, so 3 players see the flop. The flop is a great one, 3-4-5 rainbow, small blind checks to me, I see bet to 160, only the small blind calls, which is the same loose player from previous hands. Turn is a 4, which is a pretty good card in my opinion. He checks to me, and here I think I made a mistake of checking back. Effective stack is deep, but there are very little combinations of hands that are beating me here, so I think I should bet to protect my equity. River is a very bad one. He could have a couple 5s in his range. He thinks for a long time, and finally decides to check.
I'm so glad you checked, man. I was so afraid you're shoving. Check.
I win this hand, but I definitely could have extracted more value in the turn. Next hand I get 7-8 suited from the hijack, low jack raises to 20, I call. Usually I'm gonna 3-bet here if I decide to play this hand, but because he was so loose, I just decided to call in position. The flop is an amazing one, 10-9-4, all clubs, I make a flush. He bets 35, there is a high hand of $777, so I definitely gotta put this into account because I have 2 outs to make a straight flush. So I decide just to call here in position because I can't afford to raise, make him fold and not have the chance of winning the high hand. The turn is a jack, he bets $50 now, and here I think is a really close spot between raising or calling. If I call, there is a small chance of coming the jack of clubs or the 6 of clubs and I would win $777, but this bet of $50 just seemed like so much of a value bet to me that I think if I raise 150, there's a big chance he calls even when he's out of position, and there is a chance he has an ace of clubs or a king of clubs, which I would be running against 5 outs in the river because 2 out of the 7 clubs that could come would be my straight flush. So complex spot. If it wasn't for the high hand, I would definitely raise here, but I decide just to call and see the river. The river pairs the board. I'm losing to jacks, 10s, 9s and bigger flushes, so when he bets 80, I just decide to call. He shows jack 10 without the jack of clubs, so if the jack of clubs comes in the river, I would have scooped a huge pot, which is not what happens and I win the hand. Next hand I'm in the cutoff with 9s, low jack raises to 20, I decide just to call from the cutoff, because that guy was really tight and I only had strong showdowns from him on previous hands. We're heads up, I hit top set, he c-bets to 30, I call, turn is a 4 of clubs, unfortunately, I don't have the nuts anymore, and then he bets 75. There are many flush draws in his range, also some flushes as well, but I can't afford to call and let him realize his equity in case he has a flush draw. Effective stack is 550, so I wanna raise a sizing that doesn't allow him to call profitably in case he has a flush draw. So I raise to 225, and in case he shoves, I'm gonna call here. He thinks for a long time. Seems like I put him in a really tough spot. But in the end, he decides to fold. I decided it's enough for today, won 1450 in 4 hours and 15 minutes of game. Coconut Creek has a great 2-5 game. Honestly, all of the times I've been there was a lot of money to be made in the tables I sit, and you will be able to see that with your own eyes on next following episodes, and I definitely advise you to check it out this place when you're around South Florida. Great people, great staff, and soft game. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe to the channel. The mission of this channel is helping you become a better poker player. I hope I'm achieving that goal, and see you next time.